All right, are we ready?
Mhm.
This is the Social Justice Action Project, and we did transgender rights. So the definition of transgender is an umbrella term for people whose gender identity and or gender expression differs from what is generally associated with the sex they are assigned at birth. So transsexuals are generally one gender but identify psychologically and emotionally as another. Um, and they can be transitioning from male to female or female to male, also experiencing some gender dysphoria. Cross dressers are typically people that want to dress outside of their assigned gender. This is typically men that do this. And for intersex people, they're generally individuals that are born with both male and female genitalia. And it's decided at birth most of the time which gender their parents want them to be. So they don't really get a say so in it. Um, Gender benders are not really something you can fit into one category. It's a mix of male and female characteristics. For transgender oppression, this is oppression that targets and marginalizes people for being transgender in a broadest sense. When internalizing oppression, transgender individuals are at higher risk for suicide and depression. The consequences are that also causes them health disparities and they're at higher rates for suicide, drug, and alcohol abuse. These are the five faces of oppression: exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, cultural imperialism, and violence. For exploitation, we've seen in the media that a lot of celebrities are exploiting their children, kind of making publicity for themselves at the cost of their kids. Also, um, we have individuals who are transgender and apply for employment, and they might not get the job because they don't check all the boxes and they're not what employers would normally hire, and can make others uncomfortable. For marginalization, these individuals in the transgender community face many barriers. The big one is healthcare. A lot of times, physicians and medical staff don't know how to address them or meet their basic services and needs. Also, the Infectious Disease Society of America said that without strong non discrimination protections, the most basic rights to services, the health of more than 1.4 million transgender Americans are at risk. um, Continued marginalization of the transgender community in numbers is exceedingly high in national averages. For example, close to one third, which is 29% of respondents in a study, are living in poverty compared to 14% in the general. Oh gosh, I can't see that. Oh, general population, and 30% reported um, denial of promotion, mistreatment on jobs. So it's kind of like workplace bullying.
On the side of powerlessness, according to a project, the HRC did 75.1% of students that identified as transgender or non binary didn't feel safe at school because of how they expressed their gender. 1 in 4 transgender individuals were physically harassed at school, and and 10 were physically assaulted at school. Cultural imperialism is when transgender individuals depicted in mass media are most often not depicted correctly. They are depicted more for comic relief, or they're seen as insane, and most actors that play them aren't actually transgender themselves. Books can also depict transgender people incorrectly because they censor it, and then especially from schools, they are always in the GLT section of the store or library, and they're rarely in the fiction section. In the medical field, providers often do not recognize gender diversity as well, and this goes back to the factors of healthcare for transgender individuals. When it comes to violence, the transgender community in 2019 advocates that they tracked at least 26 deaths of transgender or gender nonconforming individuals in the US. This is due to fatal violence, and the majority of whom were also Black transgendered women.
The major goal for this project is to educate individuals on the importance of trans rights and how we can advocate for them. To achieve this goal, we need more focused and measurable goals that will help us move in a positive direction. So the first goal would be to push for that helps protect trans individuals from oppression and discrimination. We can do this by writing to our legislators to encourage political action. More specifically, we could start a petition to help push for a more equitable healthcare system for this population. For example, starting a campaign to receive 100,000 signatures within a month would be able to grab the attention of and force a state legislative body to debate policy regarding this issue. As social workers, we need to educate, raise awareness, advocate, and encourage action for the trans community. To get more involved, you can visit the Human Rights Campaign on Facebook to learn more about what they do, and you can volunteer for the Louisville Pride Foundation, write to your local legislators, and attend events that support this community.
Okay, other ways to get involved, as mentioned, is to join a Facebook page. The Facebook page focuses on getting the equal rights in terms of workplace, or making sure that every family that are LGBTQ get treated the same way. They work on making sure that every basic rights are met and that they are in a safe environment in the community as well. Okay, go to the next. Okay. Another way to volunteer would be getting into the Trevor Project. This right now would be helpful, including especially within the COVID-19 epidemic. This is an online thing. You can get trained online and help those who are either feeling suicidal or have gender identity crisis and stuff like that. Volunteers must be 18 years or older to apply. And then you can also push for more policy. The Transgender Advocacy Council. This is especially important because one thing that we are definitely trying to push for the transgender community would be to passing the protection laws in order for them to be in a safer environment all around, including in the workplace. And then you can also join local organizations like Kentuckiana Pride. They do have a whole bunch of programs that you can get into. There are advocacy, research, volunteering, leadership opportunities. It's very diverse, and there's a lot of things that you can do, put your strengths into in order to help the LGBTQ community. And so to sum it all up, the transgender community, they do deal with a lot of discrimination, and that leads to a lot of mental health disparities. So with that being said, it's very important to advocate for this population due to the fact that they are in need of a lot of help. By doing so, volunteering can help just a little bit, but it does a lot. Advocating for policy change can do a lot for the community as well. And just recognizing and also educating the community on how to can also be a large help.
And that is it for the presentation. Here are our references.